Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory My Night podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is my regular co-host, Brish. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad after United's run of form in 2024. So first of all, we're going to talk about the Luton game and the contrasting individual performances in that game. Um, And then we're going to move on to talking about the director news with Don Ashworth and Jason Wilcox. And then I'm going to talk about some news that came out today around the summer transfer window and FFP. So, first of all, Bruce, what did you make of the performance against Luton? It was pretty chaotic, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're gonna sound like we're repeating ourselves, but there was an air of Groundhog Day about the whole thing. We started off on absolute fire. 7 minutes in, two-goal lead. At that stage, we're probably thinking, what is it going to be, 6, 7? And then slowly we start to deteriorate. We let the opposition back in. It's quite familiar this season. Games that we should see off, we're not killing teams off. I was quite pleased with the amount of chances created. I wish we could actually put them away. Um, Hoyland, what a performance by the young man. Instinctive strikers finish for the first one. And the second one, I totally think he meant it as well. Very instinctive. It was just an intuitive thing. He reacted, and brilliant finish. Brilliant finish.
Yeah, even I was starting to think that this was going to be 5 or 6 from United, and we should think like that, going 2-0 up after 7 minutes. Um, but
Absolutely.
we but we should have known. We should have known better. Um, yeah, what a start to the game by Hoyland. Gambling and the mistake by Bale, and he latches on to it, takes it around the goalkeeper, and puts it in with power, giving no chance for a defender to get back, which unfortunately Garnacho and Bruno didn't do in the second half when they were 1-on-1. They both of them went round the keeper and didn't score, which
Yeah,
is
I'll tell you what. The first one for Bruno, I mean, I wish he'd looked up. If he had looked up, then maybe he could have tried the chip. But a very good recovery though by Lokonga. And I wonder if having seen Bruno miss his chance, that's why Garnacho kind of second guessed himself a bit. Because I saw that again, and he just wanted to make sure basically that he got off the perfect shot, and maybe took one touch too many.
yeah. Hoyland's the one I trust 1-on-1 at the moment. Garnacho not so much. He's fluffed a few 1-on-ones ever since he scored slash didn't score at the Emirates.
Hmm.
Since then, any 1-on-one he's had, he hasn't put it away. Um, yeah, a bit frustrating that we didn't, put the game beyond Luton when we had numerous chances to do so. But what a sloppy goal to give away. Once
Oh,
again, Dallo
dreadful.
failing to cut out the cross. Varane being turned by Tahith Chong, and obviously Luton got a bit of luck with the deflected shot. And then Onana, what more did you say about that man? I mean, that is just
Honestly, absolute liability. It looks worse on the replay. Like literally, he just jumps in the air as if he's trying to take flight and flaps his arms about.
he's trying Schmeichel starfish, and he's just made an absolute mug out of himself because all he did really was jump
Absolutely,
over the ball. Like, yeah,
yeah. It looked utterly ridiculous, didn't it? Yeah, yeah. It's proper liability. Him. Yeah. What can I say? We can never rest when we give away needless goals.
no, let them straight back into the game, and I was after 14 minutes, and remarkably, there was no more goals after that, even though it was
Yeah.
end to end stuff. Uh, and once again, we were hampered by Luke Shaw having to go off early. Perhaps he
Yep.
shouldn't have started this game.
And
And
again, there it highlights the ridiculousness of the decision in January to cut short Regulon's loan. We know that he's no world beater, but we questioned why we would send him back at the time, due to a lack of strength in depth, and it's showing now.
yeah, there's no way we can. If Shaw's going to be out for a few weeks, there's no way we can persist with Lindelof or Amrabat at left back. That's like
Exactly, and nobody knows what the hell's happened to Malasia. The only other one in the academy is Amas, who's about 16.
you're the kid from Watford.
Yeah, yeah.
We might have to give him a go now. To be honest, I
Uh,
mean,
we'd be chucking him in at the deep end, wouldn't we? I think it's too young, personally.
I I think it's absolutely vitally important, and I think Ten Hag will agree with me that you need to have a left-footed player at left back.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's going to be really awkward and unorthodox. And Lindelof was atrocious again. But to me, Lindelof's not good enough in his own position. Never mind a left back. So
exactly. We just about make do with him in his preferred position as a backup option, let alone at left back or right back.
he's going to have to try something else. I'm hoping that one B may be able to come back in and Dallo can switch to left back because this is
I've
unsustainable.
heard, well, in terms of wild takes, I've heard a few people call for Anthony at left back.
It's good to see people haven't lost their sense of humor.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
That's all I'll say. I'm not going to say anything more than that. That's a bit wild. um, yeah, we need to do something different than Lindelof. Could you imagine Lindelof playing left back at the Etihad?
I'd rather not. I'd rather not. Try to take it one game at a time. But yeah, yeah.
I think we could get away with it against Fulham at Old Trafford, but I,
I'll tell you what really concerned me in this game, though, Carl. Like, not only did we, not really capitalize on the chances that we had, the way we got overrun in midfield was a real concern. No disrespect to Luton, but it's Luton. You'd expect us to put up more of a fight in the middle of the park. Yeah, and it was non-existent. I thought Bruno was very poor um, late on in the game, especially for the last 20 minutes or so. I thought I was surprised actually. I thought maybe Ericsson would come on. Um, at half time, I wasn't surprised by that there was a change. Casemiro picked up a yellow again, um, and very lucky to stay on as well. I think in the first half because he looked as if he definitely could have seen red. McTominay came on, and then with Scotty, I'll tell you what. Late on in games, when you want to go, yeah, you bring him on, and he can bomb forward, and he does that Fellaini role. But in terms of giving balance to the midfield, I don't think he offers very much.
yeah, totally agree. Now I thought Casemiro's first yellow was a bit harsh,
Yeah.
but he should have got a yellow for that late lunge on Barkley, I think it was,
hmm
and got away with
I,
it because he
I'll
was
tell
on a
you what I
yellow.
thought was ridiculous as well. The yellow card for Mainu. Mainu got the ball.
Oh, I mean that was the cleanest tackle I've seen all season.
Mainu got the ball, and yeah, the audacity. And he got yellow for that as well.
Again, that just highlights how poor these referees are in these
Yeah.
league. But just looking at some stats regarding Casemiro, it's a bit concerning. Um, United allowed Luton 72 transition opportunities. 72. The third highest total for a team in a Premier League game this season. Casemiro's level and team structure a factor. He has been dribbled past 2.9 times per 90 in this season, the second most for Premier League players,
Yep.
up from 2.08 last term. Uh, so I had been saying recently that he's looked a wee bit more like his old self, but he, on Sunday against Luton, it was a return to the Casemiro from the first 3 months of the season, wasn't it?
hmm Definitely.
He's he's starting to look a bit off the pace, and then when he gets dribbled past, he lunges in,
Yep.
he goes through the back of people. Um,
I think
yeah,
the legs are
some of
starting
his
to
yellow
go at
card.
this level. I think his legs are starting to go at this level, Carl, especially with the physicality and the speed of the Premier League.
Yeah, there's times he looks wonderful on the ball, and
Yep.
when but the number of times that he slides in and wins the ball are all too few these days.
hmm
Usually gives a foul away, gets booked, and Ten Hag. It was an obvious thing to do to take him off at half time. And Maguire was on a yellow too. He took somebody down on the edge of the box and got booked, and he was able to bring on McTominay and Johnny Evans. And I have to say, Johnny Evans was excellent in the second half.
Oh, he was brilliant. He was
Um,
brilliant when he came on.
he got a total of 10 clearances, and that was double more than any other player on the pitch. Which didn't surprise me. He was even bombing forward at one point for one of our counter attacks, looking to get on the end of it. At 36 years old, yeah,
If I didn't know any better, looking at the way he's playing, I'd say he was playing for a new contract.
yeah. Well, nothing's impossible as a rotational option. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I see he recently has done the Manchester United official podcast, which of course is hosted by his wife. So
Yeah, yeah,
he's been interviewed by his own wife there. But yeah, he was smashing when he came on. As you say, McTominay, if he doesn't deliver a goal, he doesn't deliver anything really, and doesn't offer
yeah,
balance
yeah,
to the team.
yeah. That's the thing. And then honestly, you look at Ericsson and you think, oh, if you were a couple of years younger, you would have been a very useful piece in this team. But again, he's another one who, come summertime, we need to move on.
Didn't even use him. Uh,
Yeah.
I knew that with us winning the game, his final sub was going to be Amrabat for a forward,
Hmm.
and it was Hoyland that came off. And
Yep.
I just never know if that's a good idea or a bad idea when Ten Hag does that, because you're inviting pressure,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. You're
Because
basically telling the opposition that you shut up shop, basically.
and I have to and like obviously Hoyland's goals take the headlines, but it
Yeah.
was a complete performance by a centre forward in that game. His hold up play and his distribution was
Hold up play was
unbelievable as
very,
well.
very good. Very good. And yeah, and in the
Yeah,
finishes and stuff as well, you can see that this is a young player who's now growing in confidence. He's brimming.
yeah, the improvisation from that Garnacho slice was
Yeah.
brilliant. Um,
Yeah, because at first glance, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if it was just luck, so I had to replay it a few times. And no, he absolutely meant that. He absolutely meant that.
yeah, he did. I never considered that he didn't. I think somebody in the
Yeah,
studio thought it was a fluke, but as soon as I saw it, I knew that he meant it,
yeah.
and he said so himself after the game, and I believe him on that. He had a chance for a hat trick. I think he was 1-on-1 as well. Only about 6 yards out, and the keeper made a good save, but he really should put that away. Yeah, so
Yeah.
many missed
Yeah, I
chances
thought
on
their
the break.
keeper had
But
a decent game actually, Kaminsky. He made some key saves at crucial
yeah, but we
times.
made it easy for him. We should have been burying those chances.
We really should have. We really should have.
Yeah, and Garnacho and Bruno are obviously guilty of that. I thought
Yeah.
you touched on it already, but I thought Bruno was one of his worst performances
Yes. Yes. Even
this
before
season for United.
even before the chance that he should have buried, like just decision making. I think it was in the first half. There was one ball that he overhit to Garnacho, and he just had all the time and space, and you're just like, oh, why? From one of our
Did he
senior
find?
players.
I'm struggling to remember an occasion where he found a teammate with a single pass. It
Mm,
really was. I'm sure he did, but it was few and far between. There was one occasion that was highlighted at the end of the game where he's down Luton's. He's down at our left wing.
hmm
Luton's right back area, and there's six white shirts in space. He has also has the option of taking the ball to the corner, and he shoots straight at the goalkeeper. And 58 seconds later, Ross Barkley is hitting our crossbar. That was complete nonsense from our captain.
hmm
He
Absolutely.
that was really
Oh, that
poor
it was
management.
proper heart attack moment as well. That header from Barkley.
Yeah, and it would have been Bruno's fault had that went in
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he should have managed the game more better than that as our
hmm
captain. Either take the ball to the corner or you find a man in space. You don't take a needless shot on goal from a
And
tight
and I'll
angle.
tell you what, it's a real shame Mason Mount's out, because this would have been a good time to take Bruno out of the limelight and give Mason a run in the 10.
Well, I was saying exactly that on Sunday night that I would like to see Mount get 5 games in a row in the number 10 position and
Yep.
let Bruno be a bench player for a while. But
hmm
um, some of the feedback I got was realistic in that number one, Ten Hag just won't do that. Bruno will play every single
Yeah.
game and won't be taken off. And secondly, can Mason Mount even last 5 games without getting injured?
I mean, at this point, we don't even know, do we? I mean, I had this discussion earlier in the week with one or two people, where they were talking about, is Mason Mount a flop? And I was like, well, even if you were to deem him a flop, he would have to play first, you know? Like, I don't think we've seen enough of him to even make a judgment.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. Since there was a period there, let's say in the month of January, I completely forgot he was even at United. That's where we're at the moment. It's been such a long time since he played, and
Yeah.
I think he's had 3 long-term absences already.
Yep,
which is
yep, yep. And you look at that investment, and you think, and we spoke about it last summer that we could have got it for free this year. 60 million. Oh, could have been better spent elsewhere.
definitely. And if we kept the hair, and didn't buy Onana, then we would have had, was it over 100 million to spend in other areas that
Yeah,
were
yeah,
more urgent.
yeah. 47 million we spent on Onana, and in comparison, Inter Milan went and replaced him with Jan Sommer from Bayern Munich for about 6 million.
Yeah, and they got Onana for free,
Yep,
Inter as
and
well.
and
So
they
you're
got
rightly
Onana for
mugged off there.
free, and they got Onana for free just the previous year.
Yeah, once again, reminding us what a poor piece of business that was.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, when he comes off his line, he gets nowhere near the ball, and then when because his confidence has been shot by not making crosses, then he doesn't come off his line most of the time, and
Hmm.
he's rooted to his line when he should be coming
The,
and
the
dominating the
the only
area.
thing, yeah, the only thing I will say, Carl. Obviously, we've had a lot of changes in the defense, right? For me, the back five is the place where I like to see the least amount of rotation in a squad. And I
Yeah,
would like to see him play with a settled back four. But even then, like we've seen the best and worst of this keeper. Unfortunately, he'll always have a mistake in him. He's just one of those.
yeah. I think we talked about this even before he had played a single game for United, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was
that
concerned.
you said that's his profile, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly how it's turned out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I saw this at Ajax. Because I actually, at the time when he was out of contract, I actually thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind picking this guy up for free, give Dave a bit of competition, and just have him on the bench or loan him out or something. But yeah, I didn't think we would drop the kind of money that we did on him. And yeah, I thought a lot of people were getting a bit ahead of themselves based on that one performance in the Champions League final. But if you saw him throughout the season, like yeah, he's got it in his game to just do stupid things. Like honestly, sometimes you see him and you just don't even think he's a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I've said this before. Sometimes he gives me the impression of a midfielder who's been asked to go and goal because there's been a few
Yeah.
injuries in the goalkeeping department, and he just looks so awkward.
Yep.
And even we thought that we were going to get this master distributor. His passing
That's
has
not
been
really
woeful as
happened.
well.
Yeah, yeah, it's not really happened. Yeah. And people call me old school, but yeah, for me, like it's all about goalkeeping fundamentals. I like the fundamental principles of being a goalkeeper first, before everything else. All this distribution and playing out from the back and all this stuff can all wait.
Yeah, we might have to re-sign Dave in the summer on a free transfer.
I mean, he's still a free agent, isn't he? I think that ship sailed. I don't think he'd want to come back to us. But I am surprised though that he's not gone anywhere else at this stage. I definitely expected him to find a club by now.
Yeah, we're going to have to rely on Dan Ashworth looking at his enormous database and find us a bargain somewhere in Europe.
Yeah. Oh, we'll have
Because
to come to that when he gets to the Dan Ashworth segment. Are we there now?
no, not yet, not yet.
Okay.
I want to come on to Kobe Minu. He has to get a special mention. What a
Brilliant,
breathtaking
brilliant
performance.
performance. Obviously, Hoyland's going to get all the plaudits because of the goals, but yeah, Mainu again, mature beyond his years, and he also gives me the impression that we can play him further forward. Um, I don't think he has to sit as deep as he is. I think he's got a future a bit further forward in the game, but obviously that depends going forward who we bring in and how the midfield looks. But yeah, very, very talented young man.
He is just so brilliant with his feet.
Yeah.
Majestic is what I'd call it.
And I tell you what, if
Yeah,
Gareth
and
Southgate is
so
smart, he'll call him up before Ghana come knocking.
yeah, Ian Wright's leading the charge on that one. Um, as an England fan, I'm not an England fan, obviously, but if I
Yeah,
was, I'd want to see a midfield of Manu, Rice, and Bellingham. That would be
yeah.
probably the best midfield in at the Euros.
Hmm.
Let's see, knowing Southgate, he'll pick Calvin Phillips.
Aye,
Uh,
aye, aye. Based on what we've seen recently.
well,
Well, you can never put it past Gareth, can you? Because he does like his faves.
Yeah,
irrespective of
Maguire's probably
how.
been worse.
Yeah,
Maguire's
yeah,
probably been in worse form than Phillips at the minute, and he still picked him. So
yeah,
don't be surprised.
yeah,
But to think that Casemiro was 32, Bruno was 29, and at 18 years old, Menu is our most composed midfielder.
yep,
It's unbelievable.
yep. We
I
need
don't
to
know if
bridge
that's
that gap.
I
We
don't
need
know
to
if
look
that's
at. Sorry,
is
go
that
on.
more of a compliment of Kobe,
Uh,
or is that more a reflection on Bruno and Casemiro?
Probably a bit of both, isn't it? Probably a bit of both. I think he's mature beyond his years. The other one, our captain, I mean, he's quite petulant.
Yeah, and
Personally, for me, I think we talked about it before. I mean, my choice for captain probably would have been Lissandro Martinez, but he's been out of the team anyway. So
yeah, we're going to have to look at that again in the summer. I even have a mate who's now calling for Harry Maguire to be reinstalled as captain. That's how fed
mm,
up he is with Bruno.
aye, aye, aye.
And I have to say, I was so pissed off with Bruno's performance. I was
Yeah,
getting really agitated with some of his decision making. I know,
yeah,
way sometimes during games when you're emotional and you're
hmm
stressed because you're only 2-1 up and your captain's constantly giving the ball away and it angers you. That's the way I was feeling during the game.
yeah.
Um, you
And I'll
know, I
tell you
mean,
what, I think there's a little bit of he's quite comfortable, isn't he, knowing that he's not going to get subbed off, like because there's nobody else either really there as direct competition for him.
yeah, that's why I think that a wee spell on the bench might do him good.
Yeah, this is what got me thinking about Mason Mount. If Mason was available, this would have been perfect. But there's no one else really there to contest that position with him. I've heard one or two people talk about Ahmad potentially, but I mean Ahmad can't even get minutes in his preferred position, let alone in the 10.
Yeah, I mean, I know we mention this every week now, and he still hasn't made an appearance since Forest.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable. But I mean, if Anthony's not getting on, then Ahmad's not getting on.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah, and I wouldn't feel comfortable just throwing him in at the 10 anyway, because it's not a position that he's accustomed to like that.
yeah, I think it's more likely that he's going to come on the right,
Hmm
and but don't know when that's going to be. So I'm going to do some player ratings now, and they're extremely contrasting. These, um, Onana a 4, Dallo a 3, Varane a 5, and lucky to get it 5 for his 45 minutes. Shaw likewise. Casemiro a 4 for his 45 minutes. Menu gets an 8. Bruno a 0. And Rashford a 1. I just want to mention that actually. Have you
Yeah.
seen the viral video of Ross Barkley walking around Rashford and Rashford putting in zero effort to
hmm
press him? Um, I just I'm not even surprised anymore. Now I remember I watched this live and it was showing my frustration, but it's been shared millions of times now online, and I've watched it back a lot of times, and I just can't. Like I would say I can't believe it, but I can because it's Rashford. That someone
Yeah.
we're 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 deep into stoppage time. We're leading by just a goal, and he just allows a midfielder to walk past him, and he does a wee pretend jog. And
hmm
you're like, are you serious? Are you serious? You're being paid 300 grand a week and you can't even get into a jog to prevent Barkley getting further forward. It's a joke. It's an absolute
Was
joke.
very lucky not to get booked as well because he reacted to this one thing, which was just needless. Um, I think a player pushed into him and then he took it out on the player in front of him. Yeah, yeah, just all round very, very poor, very poor.
Yeah, really poor. And he was so Bruno 0, Rashford a 1, Garnacho gets a 5. Now, that's because now it looks bad because he's not finishing his chances, but
Mm.
he's getting into the positions.
Yeah,
Uh,
for me, I always take his age into consideration. I actually didn't think he was that bad, to be honest. I was just, I thought obviously he was very unlucky that he didn't take his chances, but I like what I'm seeing from Garnacho. Obviously, we have to remember his age. And as the game went on, you've switched over to the left, but you need to manage his minutes. I thought it would have been a nice chance for Ahmad to come on, actually, if anything.
at 19 he's going to have peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
Um, there's going to be games where he's unbelievable, and then games where
Yep.
he misses everything, and we have to accept that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we hope by the time he's 22, he's a complete player, but
Hmm.
we have to be patient with him when he has games like this, and don't get carried away. Let's not turn into rants and bants and say, "He ain't it, bruv. He ain't it, bruv," because that's absolute bollocks. So and Hoyland gets a 9 out of 10 for me, the complete centre forward performance. And there were three early substitutions which were enforced basically. Uh, Lindelof gets a 2 for another
Yeah.
dire left back performance. He did not prevent a single cross coming in, and nor did I expect him to.
Yeah. And he offers
Uh,
nothing going forward.
no, nothing at all. It just stunts
Yeah.
all of our attacks down that side.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's a proper throwback to like the 90s when if you weren't a wing back, the old school. I just never saw anything beyond the halfway line ever. Ah,
Yeah, you're just asking him to do a job that he cannot do.
yeah, he just
Uh,
can't do it. He just can't do it. Honestly, for the life of me, I would not understand why we cut short Regulon's loan. It made no sense. Like who in the medical department was saying, "Oh, you know what? We're expecting Malacia back." Like, did that conversation happen?
yeah, and that hasn't materialized.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like without those assurances, it was so silly to give him away.
and even if Malacia was back in training this week, he cannot
Mm,
start against Fulham because
exactly.
he has no match fitness whatsoever.
Yep.
Um,
And the only other kid we had, Alvaro, we shipped him off to Benfica.
yeah, Ten Hag's going to have to get creative if Luke Shaw is going to be unavailable for a while because we
Yeah.
cannot continue with Lindelof.
No.
So Johnny Evans gets an 8 out of 10 for me, for the reasons I touched on, and McTominay, I'll give him an average 6 for his second half performance. Didn't get the goal that we hoped he would get. What I was saying at halftime is
Mm.
I hope McTominay gets his ninth goal of the season here and puts this game to bed, but he didn't manage to do so. Amrabat came on very late in the game, and Ten Hag got the points despite a chaotic performance, so I'll say a 6 out of 10.
Mm.
And so I'm going to move on to the second part of the show, which is the big news in the last week or so about Dan Ashworth um, w- telling Newcastle that he wants to leave, he wants to join Man United. They have placed him on gardening leave, and in order to get him to cut that gardening leave short, United need to pay Newcastle a reported 20 million. And if United don't pay them anything, then he will sit on gardening leave until January 2026, which is ludicrous. Um, but I do anticipate that they're going to come to a compromise at some point, and Ashworth will end up at United at some point this year. How do you see it, Brush?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Obviously, when I heard of the quotes of 20 million, I was flabbergasted. I think under the Ed Woodward regime, we probably would have paid it blindly. I'm glad that we haven't done that this time, and we're like, going to the negotiating table. Obviously, with FFP and all of that in mind, Newcastle can't really afford to just not use him and leave him on, or pay him on gardening leave for the next 2 years almost. So it doesn't make sense. Surely they can come to a compromise.
Did you hear? According to there's a lot of reports coming out, of course. I've never heard such a big deal made out of director of football.
Yes.
Going from one club to another. Only when it involves United
Only
is
when
it
it
a big deal.
only when it involves United, and only with us will you hear the fees involved, and that's splashed all over the place. But the fee in itself is ridiculous. I mean, we've only entered the territory of paying for managers like that in the last decade or so. The first big transfer I remember for a manager where with compensation fee was probably Villas Boas to Chelsea, which at the time was about 12 million. Since then, we've seen Nagelsmann at Bayern, which was about 25, and Graham Potter and his whole team going to Chelsea for about 20. Yeah, that kind of figure for a director is ridiculous. So I would absolutely not pay that at all. If they can get the deal done, I don't know, maybe for about a million to under five, definitely. Everything else is just madness.
Newcastle fans are saying it's payback because we quoted them 13 or 14 million loan fee for Jesse Lingard,
I
with saying,
don't see how the two coincide. I don't see how that correlates.
but unexpectedly they are,
Yeah,
well, it is we do expect it actually.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. If that's the example they want to give, that shows why we need him. To try and ask for 12 to 15 million for Jesse Lingard on loan. Like, obviously we had absolute clowns running the show. What kind of ridiculous fee is that to quote? So, yeah, that highlights why we need somebody like an Ashworth.
Even a 6 million loan fee is high for six
It's
months.
it's ridiculously high. Yeah, yeah. I was laughing at Chelsea last year when they bought in João Felix, and they paid 10 million for a half season loan. And then in the summer we did something similar for Amrabat.
Yeah, I think unsurprisingly, Newcastle fans are being very bitter about this because
Yeah.
same as City fans whenever the Omar Barada news was announced, because they did not anticipate that once they were owned by a state, the Man United were going to come along and steal their directors.
Hmm.
It just once again highlights that we're Man United and we do what we want. As soon as we've got our house in order now, we've got a proper football operation, and all of a sudden, all the directors are jumping ship and want to come to Old Trafford, which is wonderful to see. And it's great how much piss is boiling at Newcastle and City.
Yeah.
Um, one of the reports said that Newcastle have now basically confiscated his laptop and blocked him from accessing his database.
Yeah, I heard about this. I heard he's locked out of the systems. Again, it just goes to show that listen, we just need to play our hand, and just hold tight. It's like a game of poker at the moment. But yeah, we just not. Yeah, we can't fold. We can't give in to these silly demands. We need to set precedent now and show that things have changed at Old Trafford, and we're not bowing down to anyone and not just paying ridiculous fees, no matter who it's for.
Yeah, uh, I think 10 million is fair.
Even
Uh,
that, for me personally, I think that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but considering he only joined Newcastle in June 22 and has decided to leave, and he has
Yeah,
a contract until 26, I can understand why they don't want to let go one of the most accomplished director of footballs in the game to one of their rivals for the Champions League. So I can understand why they're demanding a big fee, but 20 million is absolutely absurd,
yeah.
and there's no way United should pay that.
I'm
Um,
sure they'll come to some sort of agreement, though. I'm sure they'll hash out a deal.
yeah, and yeah, Newcastle now will want to present a big fee now that they can say to their fans, and save face. Uh, so I imagine it's going to be over 10, but well under 20 somewhere, and it'll be done by the summer, I think. And there's no way Newcastle want to pay him his full wage for another 2 years.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't want.
exactly that. Exactly, that's what I mean. They'll have to bring in a replacement and that anyway. And FFP looms for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Compromise will be met. There's no doubt about that. It may
Hmm.
take a few months, but that it will happen. Um, So Jason Wilcox, the director of football at Southampton currently, and he was also the director of Man City's academy. Uh, Everybody will remember him being a player at Leeds and a player at Man City,
And at
and
Blackburn.
Blackburn, of course. Yes, won the league at Blackburn, didn't he?
Yes, yeah, him
Um,
and Graham Lasso down the left hand side.
um, and he seems to be a well respected, football analyst, and he's supposedly going to come in and work underneath Dan Ashworth. So
Hmm.
United seem to be putting together quite a team now. Imagine football people in football roles. Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought? Hey, yeah, they're moving and shaking, man. It's lovely to see. It's lovely to see that we're putting these ingredients together. Should have been that way a very long time ago, but hey, better late than never.
And it shows that all those people online that tried to claim that Jim Radcliffe was just another Glazer were talking absolute trash.
Yeah, yeah, and the people trying to make comparisons between us and Nice and what he's done at Nice. I mean, I don't know a lot about Nice, but I understand that different clubs operate differently, and I don't know what their ambitions are with Nice. Not everyone takes over every football club and thinks, oh, our ambition here is to win the league.
Yeah, I mean, Nice are very small in France by comparison.
Exactly. I don't think the plan was to go over there and like try and overthrow PSG.
No, even finishing second would be a great achievement for them. So I want to talk a little bit about the budget news today in terms of the summer transfer window. And James Ducker of the Telegraph, he's very good in Man United news, very reliable. He says United's transfer budget this summer will be severely squeezed by FFP restrictions after
Mm.
previous 3 year, get this, 555 million outlay on players in the last
Wow.
3 years.
Wow.
And we will take an even bigger hit if we miss out on Champions League qualification. It's going to have to be sell to buy this summer.
Yep.
Uh, and I can straight away see high earners being sold to Saudi Arabia. Like I can easily see Casemiro and Baran going.
Yep.
I see I can see McTominay being sold for 40 million because there will, given his goals this season, there will be a club in the Premier League willing to pay that. I could see Maguire being sold, and a few other players. Anthony, if you can get him off the books.
Hmm.
Um, we need
Sancho,
Sancho, yeah,
Greenwood.
Greenwood, yeah. I
Yep.
think United are looking somewhere between 30 and 40 million for Greenwood from one of the
Hmm.
La Liga teams.
Yep.
Um, and Sancho, unfortunately, his loan spell so far at Dortmund has not been working out, so we might
Hmm.
not get much for him. We might have to loan him out again, which is
Yeah.
not ideal for anyone really. Um, if he doesn't, if he doesn't perform well between now and the end of the season, and he hasn't been doing so, then Dortmund are not going to take him on a permanent basis. I don't think.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not even
Uh,
sure they could have afforded his wages and stuff, even if he did do well. There would have had to be a mad compromise anyway. Um, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Saudi will come in, but I don't know.
he doesn't. He doesn't want to go there.
He does. Yeah.
That's.
Well.
I think he's that offer's been on the table already, and he said
Mm.
no. So I don't, unless he changes his mind. Um, yeah, we really need to do sell well this summer if we're going to bring in a decent amount of players. If we're going
Yep.
to fill the positions where we need players, then we're going to have to sell well. Now, if it was the Glazer Woodward era, I would say no chance. But now we're going to have different people running the club. We might Wales sell and make some decent money this summer. Uh, yeah, the way things are going, I can see United having a very competent operation now, with Ashworth and Wilcox and Omar Barada. Um, I can see a situation where United sell a lot of the high earners, get their wages off the books, and then use the transfer money that we've managed to tally up from the sales, and use that wisely in the market. And we might go big on a couple of marquee signings, but I can see us doing some shrewd business as well, getting some cheaper signings in. Although it is going to be difficult for United to do many of those deals because there's always the money in the tax. Brighton can get players for 6 million, 4 million, 7 million, but
Hmm.
United will not be able to do that. As soon as United come calling, the price will be doubled, tripled.
Well, that's the
So
thing, though, isn't it, Carl? I think what we need to do is that when that happens, we need to back away. If you just, start as you mean to go on and refuse to engage in over exaggerated prices, especially if they're negotiating for less with other teams, then surely eventually, then they'll be forced to negotiate with us at the same price.
and the good
Especially
thing
if the player or the agent then indicates that they're interested in talking to us.
And the good thing is that Ashworth will have for each position, he'll have a database of multiple players. So if the person at the top of the list is unattainable because the selling club are asking for too much, then we
Yeah.
just move on to the second one.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully, and then that's the thing. That's the thing because it's a step by step process with him. You've seen what he's done at Brighton. You've seen what he's done at Newcastle, and he was working with different budgets of both of those clubs, and you can see the kind of players he was picking up. So this is the next step up from that. So yeah, hopefully we'll see a mixture of the two in terms of the work he did both at Brighton and at Newcastle. Um,
Yeah, I was having a look at the signings that have been accredited to him at Brighton and Newcastle, and you can straight away you can see the difference in the fees.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like, because at Newcastle, obviously, he's got more of a budget to play around with, right? And the hits, I would say, are probably Isak, Sven Botman, Livramento. I thought was a good pickup. I think Kieran Trippier came in under him too. Yes.
It might have been before him, you know.
Okay, that might have been before. All right.
Um,
And
at
then
Bright at Brighton, just looking at some of the fees here, Moise Caicedo 4.5 million,
yeah, yeah,
Cucurella 15.4, Trossard 15, McAllister 7 million. United would never get that player for
yeah.
seven
And
million.
Mitoma, I think, was like 2.5 or something.
2.7, yeah,
2.7. Yeah.
and Lamptey was 4. And then you see the difference in the budget here. Isaac 63 million, Tonali 55, Gordon
yeah,
45, Barnes 39, Livermento 36,
yeah.
and Batman 35. So
Okay.
he obviously had a lot more money to play
Yeah.
around with her. So I'm hoping that, you know, we can get, really good players for those types of fees that
And that's what
realistic
I mean. Because he's worked with different budgets as well, I'm hoping we get the best of both worlds.
like,
I want him to
yeah.
be picking up the odd 35, 50 million pound player, but I also want him to pick up the 2, 3 to 5 to 6.
But what I'm saying is that's going to be impossible for United, because as soon as United come calling, you know, we're not. No club's going to sell us anyone for 4 million. I don't like, if we say we went into like the Colombian market, the Ecuadorian market, Brighton will be quoted 4 million. We'll be quoted 12 at least. So,
Mm.
but even that's good business
But
for
even that
United.
would still, yeah, it's still better than the business we've done in the past. So, mm.
Yeah, to us, 12 million is a bargain
Yeah,
if it's a decent player, you know.
yeah,
Um,
considering we spend a lot more and we often don't get anything in return when they leave.
so I'm anticipating that he's not gonna be buying players for the fees that he was at Brighton. It's gonna be more like
No,
the fees at Newcastle,
yeah,
or
probably.
probably more, knowing us. Um, but you know, the thing is, the less we pay for players, then the more players we can sign. And
Yep.
that was the issue last summer. We could only sign 3 players on a permanent deal because we'd spent so much of the budget on those players. 72 million, 60 million, and 43 million, whatever it was. Then that
And
was,
listen, under Ten Hag, what is it like? Over 400 million spent.
yeah. And like I just said,
It's a
there are
ridiculous.
555 in the last three
Yeah,
summer
yeah,
transfer
yeah,
windows.
yeah. It's ridiculous amounts, and this is where the structure comes in handy.
That's over half a billion since
Yep,
2021.
yep. And then you look at our squad, and you look at all the things it needs, and you're like, where the hell did this money go?
Yeah, sure. Until maybe Hoyland might have, um, you know, pushed the average up a little, but until last summer, so I think it was Gary Neville and Jimmy Carragher sat down and went through all our signings in the
Mm,
post-Ferguson era,
hmm
and the success rate was like 7%.
Yeah, yeah. It's atrocious. I mean, listen, th- n- not every transfer works out right, but the good, successful clubs they get it right more often than they do wrong. I think the success rate is probably about 70%, I would say, in the really successful clubs.
That's what I was going to say. We need Ashworth to get it up from 7% to 70%, and then we can be
I mean,
satisfied with that.
I mean, if 7% is where he's starting off, then surely he's going to smash it, right?
Yeah, the only way is up, as the song
Yeah,
goes.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and the successes were like Bruno Fernandes and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and
Zlatan was on a free.
yeah, and in my opinion, Daily Blind was a success.
Daily Blind is one of my favorite signings post Fergie.
Yeah, and there was a lot of maybes, and then there was a lot of
Yeah,
Definitely weren't. Maybe in the maybe camp, I would say like an Ander Herrera, someone like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Again, it was absolutely criminal that he was allowed to walk out for free. I don't even mind that we wanted to move on from him or whatever, but to let him walk out for free, absolutely criminal. Same with Pogba. With a year left on his contract, if you know he's not willing to sign, sell him. Why are you keeping
Yeah,
him?
yeah, but Pogba belongs in the flop camp, along with
Hmm.
Sanchez and Di Maria and Schweinsteiger
Oh,
and
Alexis Sanchez. Oh, that one hurt me, man. That one hurt me. When I well, I was actually quite excited for him when he arrived. I thought he was gonna, do stuff for us, and yeah, just absolutely. I don't know what happened to him. Probably one of the quickest declines of a footballer I've ever seen.
yeah, and I also believe that any of us are not fans of signing players at 29, 30 on big contracts.
Oh,
Uh,
good,
for,
good.
and the Radcliffe is said to be a critic of the fee and the wages paid to Casemiro at 30 years old.
Oh, so was I. I think we spoke about it at the time, right? It didn't make any sense. Like, that you got a manager who identified Frankie De Jong as the one that he wanted, and then in the space of a week, we go from links to Frankie to Rabiot to Casemiro, and you're like, well, this is a totally different profile of player.
Well, it's been well documented that Casemiro is a John Murta signing, and
Yeah,
it will be interesting to see what happens to him. He hasn't been sacked yet,
yeah.
or is he going to be demoted?
Hmm.
We don't know.
I
But
mean, listen, he's absolutely quality. He's better than anything that we had at the time, and probably still do. Well, actually, bar Mano. But it's one of those signings where I was very critical at the time because we basically, let Real Madrid balance their books because they bought in Chouameni. Um, I
but
think was for about 100 million at the time, but the sale of
you,
Casemiro.
you said you said exactly the same last week when it came to us ban Matic and then ban Bakayoko.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same thing. Same thing. Obviously, with that one, Bakayoko didn't work out right in hindsight. So there's that. But again, yeah, Matic was 29. He was past his best, and we spent 40 million on him. Yeah, and then he moved on for free. Again, net spend is important. This is why we're on the wrong side of all of these to sell.
Yeah, and now we're on the brink of breaking FFP rules because we've been so shite at selling players.
That's why, yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is why. Look at Real Madrid and how they've operated in recent years. And they're on the verge of signing Kylian Mbappe now, and people wonder and look around and go, "Oh, how can they afford to give him this massive sign-on fee?" Go and look at the business. Go and look at the books over the last 5 years of what Real Madrid have spent, and that's how. It's because they've done very smart business. They've also sold as well. They take very few L's. Um, Only Eden Hazard I can think of in recent years where it was a big money fee, and it's not worked out.
Well, it helps when you've got mugs like Man United who are willing to buy your cast offs.
Absolutely, because when Casemiro deal happened, the net spend on Chouameni went to about 30 million, and now you've got a player in his early 20s who's got the best part of a decade in front of him for that fee. You know.
Yeah, yeah. This is the type of smart business we need to start
This
doing. And
is the smart business that we need to do. Yeah, see, Camavinga, Bellingham, Chouameni. That's the new midfield for them going forward, and they've got Valverde as well. So it's ridiculous. What a way to move on from Cruz and Modric.
and they're going to be adding Kylian Mbappe to their
And
team
they're
in
going to
this.
be adding Mbappe to that mix. Funny enough, I actually don't think he's the best suited to them. Obviously, he's a big name signing and fantastic talent, so there's no doubt that it's going to work just because the talent will see through, right? But whenever I've seen it, Kylian Mbappe play up front, he always likes to drift off to the left. I just wonder how that works with Vinny there on the left hand side. I think if I was them, they should have targeted Erling Haaland. I think that would have been a better fit for them. Uh, and I'd say that with no bias, although I do want him to leave the Premier League.
But I've already told you, Vinny's going to come to Old Trafford and Rashford's going to go to PSG.
Listen, if that happens, I'm buying you a pint if that happens.
Yeah, what a front three that would be.
Yeah, yeah. But I'll tell you what, though, I have heard these rumors now. So if once the Mbappe thing is solidified, it will be very interesting to see if PSG genuinely are interested in Rashford. If so, then we've got a decision to make.
Yeah, because Rashford just looks half-arsed, and
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think he's going to get any better, mind you. And he's on big wages. If the opportunity presented itself,
yeah, you take it.
yeah, yeah,
And especially with the FFP concerns, if we offered big, massive money for him in the 80 to 100 million mark, you just have to snap their hands off.
absolutely.
Um, Another story from James Ducker is that Ineos could surrender their direct day-to-day involvement at Nice to remove the threat of United or the French club being unable to play European football under UEFA's multi-club ownership rules.
Mm,
Radcliffe is expected to hold talks with UEFA before the end of the season. Yeah, but there's an easy way around this because the Red Bull clubs have done this,
yep.
and it's where as long as the directors are different people, then that's how you deal with that situation. You
Yeah,
can't have
yeah.
You can't have Radcliffe and Brailsford being directors of both clubs, but if they
No.
appoint somebody completely different to run
Yep.
Nice, then they can get away with it.
Absolutely, because we've seen this. We've seen this model of multi-club ownership. And also, Girona is still second in their Liga, in La Liga, I believe. So if they qualify for the Champions League, you'll be interested to see what happens next summer, because obviously they're owned by Man City, right?
Yeah, and they were brought crashing back down to earth at the Bernabeu a couple of weeks ago. Was it 4-0 to Real Madrid? I think it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a reality check. Um, so yeah, and interesting that Ineos want to have the multi-club format like so many other groups, like the City
Hmm.
group, Red Bull, and Watford and Udinese. That's another.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so that could work out well for us. We could sell players to Nice, and we could also get some of their top talents for reasonable fees as well, like
Hmm.
Todibo, like we've talked about so many times in this
Yeah, yeah.
podcast.
Kefren Turam as well. Is a very good defensive midfielder.
And,
Son of the legendary Lillian.
and we could sell them Scott McTominay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So it's looking very positive at the moment. Yes, United are unbeaten in 2024. Uh, Mostly wins and one draw. Our centre forward is scoring in every match.
Yep.
Um, he's now on to 13 goals for the season. The the new owners are putting the new structure in place. Just the only negative at the moment is that United's performances are so chaotic. They do not control games whatsoever, and I think that especially with our makeshift back four and Lindelof a left back, we're going to come unstuck in the game in the not too distant future. And the Etihad is probably the likely one where we're going to have problems.
Yeah, yeah. Like I say, I'm just taking it one game at a time.
Yeah, but it's not too far away now.
It's
It's
not, no. Who we got next?
Fulham on
Fulham,
Saturday.
then Forest in the FA Cup, right? And then City.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but I tell you what, I'm expecting 3 points at home to Fulham. Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup could be tricky, and we lost there in the
Mm.
league. But to be honest, I remember the game. Forest were not good in that game. We were
No,
just worse.
I think
So
what concerns me though, Carl, is that like you just said,
mm,
like when we look at it on paper, the results from January onwards, on paper it's been brilliant, but when you actually analyze how we've gotten here, we're just
yeah,
getting by. Um, you know,
yeah.
it should be more comfortable, but it's
The only
not, and we make it difficult for ourselves.
the only
Um,
game we won comfortably is the West Ham.
yeah, yeah, and that was a bit of a surprise to be honest. I expected a tough game that one.
But given that they lost 6-0 the following week,
Yeah,
then it wasn't
yeah,
that
yeah,
much of a surprise.
yeah, yeah. It looked quite ordinary after what Arsenal did.
We didn't we didn't even beat Newport easily.
Yeah, yeah.
We were two each with Newport halfway through the second half.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Yeah, we made hard work, but we are getting over the line in all these games, which is the most important thing. Now, Hoyland has scored in every game that he's played since Boxing Day, which is thrilling. Uh, he missed that Forest game, which is probably one of the reasons why we didn't win. So I would be reasonably confident that United could get through in the FA Cup against Forest. The only thing that would concern me is the left back situation.
Yeah,
That is going to concern me in every game now that Luke Shaw is not going to play.
definitely.
At the Etihad, I have to be honest. I would take a point right now. I'd shake hands on that one. That would feel like, to be honest, that would feel like a win if we got a point in that game. And then I think after that, we're playing the likes of Everton and Sheffield United at home. So these are more winnable games. So, and another thing that's worth mentioning is that the City game is a bit of a free hit in that Villa play Spurs on the same weekend, who of
Hmm.
course are challenging us for the Champions League spots. So uh, at least one of those teams is not going to get away from us. If they draw, that would be perfect. So it's 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 ideal that Spurs play Villa in the same weekend. We play Man City, so we're not going to fall behind too much if it doesn't
Too
go
far.
well.
Yeah, it would still. Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, it
Because
would still be within our hands.
we also have to take into account that fifth place will probably get a Champions League spot.
As things stand, I think I read somewhere today that as things stand, it wouldn't come to us. It would go to Germany and somewhere else. The spare spot.
Well, I think it would help England's coefficient if City get to the Champions League final and Liverpool get the Europa League final.
Yeah,
So
no, that would make me sick. No, I don't want none of that. No, no,
as
I'm
long as
not a
they
fan.
lose.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this coefficiency stuff. I'm not a fan of other English clubs getting to finals. Screw them.
So
Because you know, when it comes to a final, Carl, absolutely anything can happen in a final. I don't like it. I remember watching that final in Istanbul. It's a
yeah,
disgusting feeling.
to be
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like watching our rivals in finals.
to be honest, if Liverpool win the Europa League, I don't care. To be honest, doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah,
I mean, we can just say a Mickey Mouse trophy, and that's it. But obviously, winning the Champions League is completely different. That's something I don't want anyone
it's
to
still
do.
it's still a European honor at the end of the day. So yeah, no, no, thank you. Don't.
But if we're in fifth after 38 games, you'll be glad that they got to the final.
I mean, listen, you get what you deserve come the end of the season. So yeah, if it's meant to be,
Because
then you know we'll the table will reflect it.
that will affect our summer budget as well. It's very, very
Yeah, yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. That's why it's imperative to qualify for these competitions. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, like you said, we have to be a bit clever in the summer as well, with the changes that we make. And yeah, I definitely see it happening where we start getting rid of the high earners and the aging players.
Yeah, don't be surprised if a big offer comes in for Bruno and any of us think about it.
Yeah, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I think this summer would probably be the last chance you get to really cash in on him. He turns 30 in September.
Yeah, yeah, and he's not he's not doing it at the moment. He's on big wages,
Yeah,
and this is the last chance to get a big fee for him. So let's wait and see. Let's
yeah,
see how it
yeah. We'll
goes.
also have to see what their plans are for Mason Mount because you know if he can ever get fully fit, they may see him as the future.
Yeah, but that can't happen if he's going to be injured all the time.
No,
Obviously,
absolutely not. I think
but
the concerning thing is that the last year at Chelsea he was injured a lot as well.
he was. Yeah, that's true.
You
I'd
know,
love to see it work out for him because I think he's a good player. He's a nice lad.
yeah.
I would hate for him to end up with a Keane Dyer career at Old Trafford, or a Dan Anderton career. Where he just
Hmm.
spends most of the time on the treatment table.
Yeah.
Um, because that doesn't suit anyone. Because
No.
it's a waste of money for us, and
Hmm.
it's devastating for him. to be sitting on the sidelines like Phil Jones and not playing it. I'm sure it really affects. People say, "Oh, he can just look at his bank balance and he'll feel happy," but you know, when you're not doing the job you love, you become depressed, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. That's a fact.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do think he'll be given the time and chance. Though he will have ample opportunity. The fact that he's homegrown as well. He's English. He feels a certain need. You need to have a certain number as well in it for the quota for Europe. Um, so all that will come in handy as well. But yeah, yeah, uh, we'll have to just give it time and see how he does.
Yeah, it'd be nice for him if, in like as Ten Hag says, every game's a cup final now between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if he got the winning goal in one of these cup finals between now and the end of the
Hmm.
season, or big goal at Wembley or something to kickstart his United career.
Absolutely.
So we shall leave it there. If everyone could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get more of your comments in, and keep listening on Apple and Spotify, and give us a 5-star rating. And I shall see you again next time, Brush.
Yep. It's been a pleasure. Take care.